Hello again, friends. I hope you're all doing really well and ready to navigate another interesting week in the stocks. Now, I didn't cover it at the time because of the flood of others who were doing so, but SOFI, ticker symbol SOFI, was approved its bank charter during last week's trade. In this video, instead of basically announcing this, I want to discuss some of the potential ramifications for SOFI as a result of this and what it means for the company going forward. I'll also take a brief look at some of the latest trading data on the company and give my thoughts about the week ahead, so let's get into it. So to explore the implications of the bank charter for SOFI, I want to frame the discussion around the benefits and drawbacks, or potential drawbacks I should say, of this development. Now, it is no secret that the pros of achieving the bank charter would very likely far outweigh the cons, and most of the pros have been covered extensively, particularly the improved lending margins from SOFI being able to self-fund the loans business with deposits that they will be holding, a unique distinction between a bank and other fintech or non-banking financial businesses. Basically, as a bank, SOFI can cut out the middleman or third-party bank from financing their loans, and instead of charging their margin on top of that loan, they can either take the whole amount of the profit margin or offer a more competitive rate for customers. One of the facets which will help to grow their already fast-paced growing customer base. Now, the other thing that needs to be acknowledged is that SOFI is now a bank. This means they will be able to actually expand the range of services they offer to include those that are normally reserved for banks, or like their previous loan business, offer services without the need of a third-party provider eating into their ability to be competitive and their overall profit margins. Also, by being a bank, it will help to generate a wider trust in the SOFI brand, as there is a greater sense of stability via the regulatory mechanisms that will now be in place. Also, deposit holders will get reassurance via government deposit guarantees. This wider appeal that SOFI will have to broader demographics will hopefully help drive more customers from the broader population who their previous product was not targeted at, i.e. people with student loans. With the upcoming Super Bowl, this new bank may soon be putting their brand name into the minds of many from this broader population, so it has been quite fortuitous the timing for which they have received this bank charter. The last point I would like to make is that while we are in times of dim market outlook, particularly due to the pains associated with expected rising interest rates, in these times, banks typically perform well. In fact, better so than a lot of other non-bank financial businesses. Higher interest rates generally equal better profit margins for banks, so SOFI seem to have got its bank charter just in time for what some have predicted as being as many as 4 rate rises throughout the upcoming year. Now, to try and look at the outcome of the bank charter from another perspective and not trying to generate any FUD around SOFI stock, it's a great business on the rise, but I think it is worth looking at some of the drawbacks of the charter. Really, there are not many, and the main 2 I have identified are more longer term impacts on the business. First and foremost is that with the charter comes the increased regulatory oversight required for banks. Now, SOFI, as part of their application, would have been proposing the structures for them to be able to meet these regulatory requirements. So this stuff is already planned, it just needs to fulfill these plans. These plans would basically involve bringing in a swath of new skilled workers, consultants and systems to ensure that SOFI is meeting all the legal and financial obligations that come with being a bank. Now, this will likely involve an early hefty cost to the business, which will likely show up in the Q1 and Q2 financial results, provided that SOFI is immediately taking steps to establish these systems. This could be a bit of a shock to results early on. However, given that SOFI is still in its growth phase, losses are still expected in the near future. Longer term, provided SOFI can get their business model right, the regulatory changes will be more than accounted for via their improved profit margins on their products and should not be a cause of concern going into the longer term. The other broader risk that SOFI has is that they now run the risk of losing their unique place in the market. They are particularly unique at the moment as they had previously been a market leader in their particular fintech space, but there were a number of competing services that have started to already emerge. Now that SOFI have a bank charter approval, and this does make them a bit more unique, there is a risk that they may blur their image to eventually being just another bank, or may even receive more direct competitions from larger, more established banks. I suppose it's just something to consider that eventually their business will mature and will lose a bit of the excitement that has been driving the share price growth. Jumping over to the charts, like I said the other week, I thought that SOFI was a great buying opportunity when it was floating around its then record lows of $13. It was at this point that I did establish my initial position in the stock. Then, just like the Seinfeld episode of the stock, I felt there was a bit of pain as the stock slid along with the broader poor market sentiment. That was until, of course, the bank charter got approved on Wednesday during aftermarket hours. The stock has since softened and moderated following this initial boom, and I think it's probably more so due to poorer market sentiment rather than the implications of this announcement. But like I said, the ability to underwrite their own loans and the fact that rising interest rates are generally good for banking businesses, this temporary drop in price does not worry me too much. So to me personally, if there is more of a slide, I may be looking to buy again, especially if this $12 level is again reached. In terms of how the stock is shaping up for Monday's trade, the stock has finished almost neutrally within the Bollinger Bands and the RSI. So there is not much to really read into on the charts here. However, aftermarket data from Friday shows that there was a continued slide in the stock price, and perhaps some of this may be reflected early in trade on Monday. I guess we'll have to wait and see. At the end of the day, SOFI is still a growth company, so profitability, while desirable, is still likely to be some way away, as the company will be continuing to invest in further growth with the revenues that they do receive. At the moment, SOFI has very impressive growth in a very large and growing market. Eventually, they will become more mature, and as a mature business, they will be a bank. A business model which is known for being stable and quite sustainable and able to regularly be profitable. So while I will want to keep seeing good growth in new customers, it will also be important to at least soon begin to see a maturing of the company's balance sheet, which currently sits with an underlying tangible book value of $3.78 per share as of the September results, which, while good considering the current share prices, is only a 2-cent per share growth on the previous quarter, despite seeing very strong growth in new customers. Anyway, what do you guys all think about SOFI stock at the moment? Do you think the stock will show greater resistance to the current inclement market conditions than its peers? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Also, if there is another stock you would like me to take a look at, mention a ticker symbol in the comments below and I'll see what I can do. I can't get around to all of them, but I do try to look at some of them, especially ones that I find quite interesting. Until next time, everyone, may the markets trade in your favor. Cheers.